As a kid, watching cartoons was one of my favorite things to do, along with playing with the toys based on said cartoons. The closest to my heart were Ben 10, Beyblade, and Bakugan. Today I'm going to talk about the last one, starting a series of videos where I take a look back at each series of the Bakugan anime. So in this video I am going to start with the original Bakugan Battle Brawlers series. The first episode starts with Dan, our protagonist, talking about how some weird ass cards started falling from the sky. Hate it when that happens. And how he and
Mr. Hotshot himself, Shun.
made the rules for the Bakugan game. Then the theme song plays.
What are you gonna do?
Not joking, to this day it is still my favorite theme song of any show. Then we see Dan running away from home on his bike while his mom was doing mom stuff. He arrives in a park and battles Shuji, who wanted revenge for his brother. Dan wins and heads back home. Meanwhile, in Vestroya, Naga was just traveling around the Pyro's mansion when Drago decides to say hello. Naga shows him a card and then leaves to get some milk, but on the way there crashes into the court of Vestroya, as you do, and the whole dimension starts doing weird stuff. Back on Earth, Shuji again challenges Dan to a battle. During the battle, Drago and Fear Reaper join the fight through some dimensional stuff. Dan gets a new ability card and uses it without consent. Drago wins the battle and becomes Dan's new Bakugan. Oh, and also he can talk, and every one of Dan's friends is shocked by that. In the next episode, we are introduced to Masquerade, a Darkness brawler who wears a mask and uses this thing called the Doom card to send other people Bakugan into the Doom Dimension, which sounded really threatening as a kid. Runo loses to him and Dan's testosterone fires up, and he decides to challenge Masquerade in the best possible way.
Bruh.
Masquerade somehow accepts, and they meet under a bridge. Masquerade stalls until Dan brings out Drago. Masquerade counterattacks with Reaper and he was almost winning, but decides to let Dan win for reasons. The next few episodes are made up of Masquerade giving people Doom cards and asking them to challenge Dan. Dan wins, but not without learning important lessons such as don't throw your Bakugan into a river. Yeah, that happened. Dan then starts meeting up with his friends in real life, ignoring every parent in this world who says not to meet strangers from online. Masquerade also makes some friends and gives them the task of fighting the Battle Brawlers. The good guys then take Marucho's private plane, which looks more like a spaceship, and fly to Moscow to meet Alice. There they find out that her grandpa built a portal to Vestroya, went there and turned back as an old Hulk, and he was calling himself Hal G. The team start to think that Alice was a traitor telling Masquerade where they are. Wink wink nudge nudge. Luckily they give up on that idea and proceed to search for a guy named Joe, who they thought was actually Masquerade. Surprise surprise, Joe is in a hospital.
Bruh.
Due to all the fights, Drago evolves into Delta Dragonoid and gets a cool metal stripe on his chest and abs. Dan challenges Masquerade to a fight again and Masquerade whips out his evolved Bakugan, Dual Hydronoid. He has two heads and a metal stripe, except his stripe has spikes. Drago actually loses and looks to be headed to the Doom Dimension. But Dan does the only logical thing and yeets himself into the Doom Dimension to save Drago.
Bruh.
This starts the evolution arc, where the other main characters lose on purpose to do the same thing as Dan, trying to save him. Every character gets their own character development episode except for Alice, who didn't have a Bakugan. And every main Bakugan evolves. Goram gets a hammer, Tigrera gets blades, and the ability to stand on 2 feet, and Preyas gives birth to his brother, who actually is 2 Bakugan in 1, and you never know which one you get. That happened. Masquerade also goes to the Doom Dimension to evolve his Dual Hydronoid. His evolution is called very intuitively Alpha Hydronoid, because that's how numbers go, right? 1, 2, Alpha, 4, 5... Hydronoid gets an extra head and 2 wings and is ready to take over the world. After returning to Earth, Dan has to beat each one of his friends in order for Drago to evolve again. So he does, and Drago evolves into Ultimate Dragonoid, a Bakugan which we sadly never got as a toy. Now, instead of having a metal stripe, Drago gets all sorts of white stripes. With this new evolution, Dan challenges Masquerade to a final fight where if he wins, Masquerade has to take his mask off. The fight is very epic. Instead of a plain white arena, they fight in a Colosseum. Their clothes get torn apart and their power is over 1000. It was a big deal in the show. Dan wins and Masquerade respects his side of the deal, revealing that he was Alice, Who would have thought? It is kind of interesting how Mask makes orange hair go brown and the voice drop a good few floors. Then disaster strikes. Naga and Hal G come down to Earth to destroy everyone, and it is up to the Brawlers to save the world by throwing balls at Naga and Hal G. The final fight takes place on a piece of a street that was just floating around. Hate it when that happens. Drago absorbs the power of the Infinite Core and becomes Infinity Dragonoid. He beats Naga and everything is back to normal. The final scene of the show is a bittersweet ending, the main characters throwing their balls at the sky so that the Bakugan could return to Vestroia. Bakugan Battle Brawlers was not a bad show at all. It had a very good plot and the action scenes were intense, while still keeping in mind the rules of the trading card game. Mostly. In 2021, I can still say it is a very good show, and one that I rewatch with pleasure.